Hi, this is Kathy Goodwin, and today we're on part 3 of our series, From Listeners to Clients. In our first video, we talked about finding the venue, choosing the venue. In the second, we talked about getting the gig. And now we're saying, okay, you chose the venue, you got the gig, now you're in front of the audience. How are you going to engage with them? Well, the first step is to think conversation. This underlies everything you do in your presentation. Think of relaxing and having a conversation with your audience. It's not like you're up there and you're sort of brought in from, you've flown in, you've let, sort of like having a helicopter drop you on the stage. You're in front of all these people and they're there and you're never going to cross this great barrier. You're actually in dialogue, you're in conversation, you're connecting in some way. It's really an elaborate form of a conversation, even if you do most of the talking, because we know in regular conversations, sometimes one person does talk a lot. The key is to get the audience involved. The first thing you can do is create a handout, and you've probably been advised to do this before. I do this for live presentations and sometimes for teleseminars when I want people to really remember and get involved. The handout should be something that the audience creates with you. That means you don't just give them a list of things. Definitely do not give them an outline. You can give them PowerPoint overheads if you're asked to do this, and this is something you may be invited to do. It's an easy way to do it. But if you really want to get them involved, don't just give them the PowerPoint overheads. Give them fill in the blank flyers that you will hand out, and then say, okay, I'll give you the PowerPoint overheads later. And you can always do that. You have them for notes. But your handout should be provocative. It should be have questions or have fill in the blank statements that will be hard for them to guess. So you might have something like, before you get on stage, you need to blank. Or you could have it even more. Before you blank, you need to blank. Your audience will be writing along line by line. I have always been amazed at how people get excited and yes, I'll write this in, and they have fun. I once did this at a late evening presentation with a trade group, a small trade group, and they were exhausted. And I was surprised they really got into it because they didn't have to just sit. They had something to do as they listened. Invite questions, and there are techniques you can use. Just saying, hey, anyone got questions? May work, but a lot of times it doesn't. So you have to think of ways that you can motivate people to actually take the risk of asking a question in front of their peers, hopefully a meaningful question that will help you show what you can do. And then you can practice handling those questions in a way that's inclusive and that motivates even further dialogue and further interaction with the audience. Use stimulating visuals. There's nothing wrong with using PowerPoint, but you don't want to read your PowerPoint or have whole sentences that you just read off on your PowerPoint. If you're going to use a handout, don't just have your whole talk on the handout. Keep them stimulating and keep them moving. I have found myself that when I use PowerPoint, if I can keep having each line show up one at a time, people tend to stay more interested, and it keeps me more interested too. Create surprising content. What does this mean? Well, it doesn't mean that you do these hokey things to really shake people up or say things that might be shocking or show pictures that are best suited for X-rated opportunities. It means that you say things that will get people to say, oh, wow, I did not know that. For example, let's say that you are a dog trainer and you're giving a talk to a group of people who are prospective dog owners. Maybe some of them just got a dog, or they're thinking about getting a dog, or they have a dog that's causing them problems. And you can say, well, it's a good idea to put the dog in the crate. And a lot of people think that's like doggy jail. But the surprising part is that dogs like their crate. And here's the reason. Dogs like their crate because it's a confined space, and they know they are not responsible for guarding the whole house. They just have to guard their crate, and they can see every inch of it. So they relax and take a nap. When I heard that, I was like, wow, I did not know that. So that's the kind of fact that is surprising to many dog owners. And you can bring out a fact like that. When I talk about online marketing, one of the things I say is that copywriting is not only the first thing you do when you create a website, or indeed any piece of content, a sales letter, anything you're going to use to promote your business, but your copywriting creates strategy. It's not just something you do after the strategy, and that's surprising to many people. And then I go on and explain that. Think in chunks of attention. Now, what do I mean by that? If you were giving a 30-minute speech, you don't have a 30-minute speech. You have 5 6-minute chunks. In each 6-minute chunk, you may have 4 to 5 minutes of content, and then you have a minute where you shift. That's your transition, where you get people moving or to change their focus or do something to get them to move out of their zone. People cannot hold attention for 30 minutes solid. You'll hear 15 minutes as the maximum. Personally, it seems like 5 to 10 minutes is the max, especially if you're speaking live, because in a live event, people cannot take their own breaks. If you're at home listening on your computer or listening on the phone, you can get up, you can move around, you can walk across the room, you can stop to pat your dog, you can go to the refrigerator and get something to eat. You can do all these things. But if you're sitting in an audience, you can't move. You can't, if you even shift too much or start playing solitaire on your cell phone, people around you are going to look at you funny. So you can't do that. So you have to give people that break. And I think it's helpful even when you're on a video or a teleseminar. Get volunteer hot seats. This is one of my favorite things to do. If you can do it ahead of time and have the people lined up, that's even better. So let's say you're giving the dog talk about being a good dog owner. Get 3 or 4 people to talk about their dogs and the problems they're having with their dogs. When I do website makeover teleseminars and live talks on anatomy of a website that attracts clients is one of my topics. I love having real people speak. And I want to mention, if you're invited to speak, what is your motivation? Well, you'll be surprised how much people listening respect the person who comes forward. Every time I've done this, when I've had a bunch of people speak, let's say about their website or about their coaching business or their accounting business or any other kind of business, people will come forward afterwards and say, who is that? Whose website was that? I like that person. I'd like to follow up and get to know them better. You can, believe it or not, get hired after you've volunteered to be the makeover candidate or the hot seat person. So it's a good thing if you get asked. It's a really good idea. And you may get chunks, you may get some really good advice as well. It's why if you go to a live event, a lot of times you'll see experienced, seasoned marketers jumping up to be in the hot seat because they want that attention. They want people to, it's a really great way to show people how your own business works. And if you have a dog, it's a great way to make friends and break the ice, because trust me, everyone's dog has an issue. My dog, who's looking at me right now, has more than one. So how not to engage? First of all, you may hear the advice, open with a joke. Forget it, especially a stale joke. If you want to bring in something that bonds you to the audience, it doesn't matter if it's a joke, it doesn't matter if it's something light, bring in something that makes the audience feel you're on their side. Long stories about your background. I know some people seem to tolerate this well, but I think the days are over when people will spend 20 or 30 minutes on a talk listening to you, how you got there. And we're seeing this a lot. Sometimes it's punctuated with the speaker's background and a picture of their new yacht, a picture of their wife and kids, their new home, and a picture of the garret that they lived in when they were setting up their business. It's not only boring at some point, it's potentially unfair to the audience, because if you started your business 10 years ago, or you trained your dog 10 years ago, anything you did 5 or 10 years ago, a lot of the things you did are no longer available in today's world. So I would say, you're not engaging, you're really setting yourself apart when you do these things. Get right in and get involved. Patronizing your audience. I shouldn't have to say this, but I do hear this from time to time where people seem to be speaking down to their audience. Respect your audience, and it's, you probably know this, but I'm surprised how often I hear people being somewhat patronizing and sort of like, I have all the answers and you don't. Remember, you're also listening, you're also learning, and you are an expert, you're a confident expert, but you're also one of them. Most important, relax and look like you're having fun. Audiences want to hang out with people who enjoy being there. You may hear the advice, if you're scared or nervous, say so. That is awful advice. If you're scared or nervous, just keep talking. You'll get over it. It'll get better. Have techniques practiced to relax. If you know you're going to be nervous ahead of time, have some processes in place that you've created so you know how to get yourself wound down and having fun. If you're wondering what to do, I recommend taking improv classes. I've been taking them for a long time, and it really helps. I think it's even better than Toastmasters, because in Toastmasters, you do learn things like not to say or but Toastmasters focuses on creating the perfect short speech. Improv focuses on getting you to relate to your audience. Be very aware of who's in the audience and who is with you on the stage at every minute. It's a very challenging skill, and it's a lot of fun. You also get used to the idea of how important it is to have fun, even when you're not trying to be funny, because improv people don't usually tell jokes. I mean, you will have one-liners. You're not supposed to. I usually sneak them in. But other than that, you're just speaking, you're creating scenes that are normal and natural, but you're very aware of the audience and putting them together in a fun way. So think about having fun when you speak. If you'd like to hear more, you can go to my website, kathygoodwinmarketing.com. I have a number of services. You can have a consultation, or if you can go to this link, budyourworld.com/speaker call, where depending on when you're listening, you'll have a call to listen to in the future or to listen to the replay. One of the things I can do is help you develop your techniques of relaxing in front of a group. We can talk about ways to structure your talk in the most meaningful way, in the most effective way that will hold the audience's attention. We can talk about promoting your talk. We can talk about choosing your venue, choosing your audience, what is the best thing to do. And we can talk about any of those things. I've done quite a bit of speaking and had some success with it, quite a bit, in fact. My favorite thing to do. And I'd be more than happy to work with you. Also, what's important to realize is your speaking engagements are part of your overall marketing strategy. So what we do when I work with you, it won't be speaking alone. We'll be talking about how to work that into your overall strategy. And I do know a number of very specialized resources that I can refer you to after you work with me if you'd like to work on specific elements relating to speaking, such as gaining confidence or promoting your venue and things like that. Thanks so much for joining me today. I look forward to meeting you on a future video. Have a great rest of the day.